What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol ABCL for AbCellera Biology. On the left-hand side, we are looking at the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame chart. Let's start off by mentioning that in the post-market here, there was an announcement that they got some FDA approval for antibody use one way or another. As you know, you're here for a technical analysis, and that's my expertise, price action, and not so much the fundamentals. So, dealing with this large gap up, what is the framework that we always use? Well, quite simply, it's going to be if we open here around this, let's call it 2382, and the pre-market high remains up here at this 2480, then we have some numbers to be paying attention to. Let's go ahead and map this out from the daily perspective, and then we'll drill down to the 30-minute, make sure we're not missing anything. So if we open here, or let me backtrack, right? Whenever we're dealing with a gap, we have to consider the fact that we could get a gap and trap or a gap and go. The gap and trap is always the situation that you want to favor. So if we open here, fail to take out the overnight high and trade back down through the open, you're essentially looking for a short back down towards today's high to fill the gap. Now, hang on a second. I know if we go on over to the trade tab, what you'll notice is that there are, it's hard to borrow. So maybe if you want to pay the fee to borrow the shares, you can do that. And if we look at the put side of the option chain here, absolutely terrible volume. So you're not actually going to short this. You're probably just going to stand aside and let the pullback happen instead of trying to, continually stab long as it's breaking down and filling that gap. You don't want to get involved in that move that happens here. And if I just scrunch up the chart, let me put this back on auto here, scrunch this up a hair. What you'll notice is that this has been in a relatively aggressive downtrend for quite some time, right? So it's not out of the question that it could fill the gap back down towards today's high. Again, that's 1987. To the upside, the case I'm sure a lot more people will be rooting for. People just generally like to go long and see things explode to the upside, right? That case would look like this. If we open here and get the gap and go, it's consolidation for maybe the first 5-10 minutes of the day. Break of the pre-market high sets this thing off to the upside, in which case you're looking for the next major area of resistance from the daily perspective. And the numbers I would have to pick out would be here, right around this 26.95, call it 27, noting that we had prior support, then flip to resistance in this area of the chart. If it really gets going, and again, I'm not anticipating this at all, but maybe there's room to up here at this 31.43. As a matter of fact, the probabilities of the daily candle on the chart looking something like this are relatively small, right? I don't want to get your hopes up. I'm just saying from a structural standpoint, 31.43 is the next number to be watching here inside of ABCL. So those are the two scenarios to really watch out for. Again, a lot is going to unfold at that 9:30 bell. It's going to tell us if we get the gap and go or the gap and trap. There might be a hang up on the gap and trap area right around this 26.36, noting that it was also prior structure from right in here. So maybe we get some trouble there. Again, I wouldn't stab long. I would just be patient, see if it breaks. If it does, again, you're watching for the full gap fill. If it does struggle here, you're still not stabbing long. You're waiting for some confirmation back inside of whatever overnight range or structure builds out on the day. Just zooming in on the 30-minute, or not zooming in actually, there's not a whole lot to glean from in this, obviously. That would be a massive move to the downside. Again, do you really think that the candle is going to look like this and take back all of that? Again, I don't really think the odds favor it, but I do think, this would be reasonable if it's a true gap and trap, right? If you look at some of this prior activity from here, some of these red days are quite nasty to the downside, so it could very well be in play. The last thing I'll do before I sort of sign off here on this ticker would be to draw in a support trend line, very rough, something like this, right? If it does pull back, you're really intent on trading this if you believe in it for the long term. Again, that's your prerogative. Maybe there's an entry point down here into this support trend line. I'm not sure when it happens, if it's here, or if it's way in the future, closer to 22, and this thing just goes sideways, right? There's all of the different scenarios that could pan out, but again, a lot's going to really ride on what happens early on in the session tomorrow morning, 9:30, with the gap and trap or the gap and go. You have the framework, you have the levels I'll be watching, there, and that's going to be it here on ABCL. So if you enjoyed the video or learned anything new, let me know down below in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description, and all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.